Welcome to NuttieBuddie Entertainment. The Bad.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, let's start with Brian this time. Brian, what's your first bad?
Okay, so since I have watched Rebels and Clone Wars and also played um Fallen Order, I know more about Saw Gerrera.
Uh-huh.
And now that I'm rewatching this and not knowing that this is some random old crotchety dude in a desert who's like an extremist, I had to put him in my bad because for an intro to someone who hasn't watched those things, it does not do him justice on like who he is very well, I think. I think they could have maybe done a better job of kind of getting a better feel on who he actually is and like why he's so extreme compared to like the Rebels or something. I'm not sure how they could have done that, but I feel like it wasn't doing him justice. You get a lot better, clear arc of who he is in Rebels, and then also the video game too.
Yeah, maybe there'll be another prequel show. They can show how he becomes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be cool. I'd be down for that.
yeah, that would be neat. I think I sort of liked it. I'm not. I sort of liked it because it shows how war can callous someone to the point of like he's been fighting this war for so long. He's paranoid about everything. He doesn't, and he becomes this extremist because of it, if that makes sense. So I kind of like it, but I see absolutely where you're coming from as well.
No, yeah, I'm thinking of it from the perspective of when I first watched this movie. Like, for who he was, it was fine. I didn't know any background on him, but now that I do have background on it, I'm like, okay. Like, I know he was going towards like at least where I'm at in Rebels, like he's pretty out there right now, but to him to just be this guy, it felt a little weird to me, so I put him in my bad.
Can I ask a question as someone who has not watched Rebels? Did they create Rebels after this movie came out, or did it come out concurrently, or?
It was after, right?
Yeah, after, yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's probably one of those things where they created this character and then they decided, oh, we're gonna use him in another property kind of thing, which is why that wouldn't, I don't know, reflect in the movie.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe they'll fill in the gaps for us. Sarah, you got a bad for us?
For me, we touched on it, but some of the dialogue was a little cheesy. The Krennic don't choke on your aspirations line did not hit for me. I can't I don't see Vader as a humorous character, so it just didn't feel right to me. Or even the first time they said rebellions are built on hope, I felt like it felt really like shoehorned into that scene. Like it just didn't feel like the natural thing to say in that moment. Like it felt fine when Jyn said it during the, when she's trying to inspire them to, go get the Death Star plans. But the first time it was like, okay, this is a little like you're trying to make someone say it so she can say it later on, is how I kind of felt about it. So some of that dialogue just a little off for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of I'm in between you and Brian on that scene with Vader. It's like I understand, I can see the humor in it. But I also I don't want Darth Vader to be funny. Like I want him in the hallway just showing what's up. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah, those two don't jive for me. You can't be that way in the hallway and then be cracking wise. I don't know. It doesn't fit for me.
Yeah. I can see that. I can see that. Let's see. I have a bad is one of my bad is, so they heard about this defective pilot, right? And the rebellion wanted at that time they wanted the defective pilot, but really they wanted to know where Ursa was so they can go kill him. Basically, that's that one guy you don't like there, that general that wanted to kill him.
Yeah.
When they found out there was an actual defect, because they didn't trust him, but then they found out there's an actual defective pilot. right? Because that's who they saved off of Jeddah. But then they like, if that's true, likely then he's working with Jane Erso and he's got this message about trying to help the rebellion, but they still wanted to kill Jane Erso, which I mean not Jane, the dad Erso. So I guess that just didn't make a lot of sense to me, because like I get why you might have wanted to in the first place, because you think he's building this massive machine and he's the brains behind the operation. But when you found that defective pilot and he's telling you he sent me to send this message to you, and it's like, oh, and this pilot's helping you get into the bad guys, the Empire's planet to get to Urso. It's like, why would you kill him? He obviously is an ally at that point. A little bit of a nitpick, but that was one of the bads that I found out that was kind of inconsistent with the story, because logically it wouldn't have made a lot of sense to me.
Okay.
If that makes sense to you.
Sure.
Sure. Okay. You got another bad, Brian?
Yeah, my other bad was just I'm not sure why they made Andor like a continuation of Cassian's story, just because for me he wasn't really a likable character in this, like towards the end, but honestly it was like he pretty much was an assassin. Like within the first couple of minutes of meeting him, he kills a cripple and then just like flees. And then he's on a mission to kill her father too, and then he doesn't do it. And I don't know, he wasn't really like someone who I really rooted for, so I'm interested to see where kind of, I guess, we see what built him into this guy. But yeah, I don't know how that's gonna make for an interesting story, really. So
yeah, it is going to be interesting. Sarah, how did you feel about Cassian?
I thought he was fine. I think, I feel like there's like the Star Wars leading man type, right? You've got your Han Solos, you got your Poe Damerons, who are the, charismatic pilots. And I feel like they kind of went against type with Cassian in that he was moodier, he was more abrasive, I guess, in a way, a bit of a darker edge to him. So I don't know. I didn't like or dislike him, because I think it kind of speaks to what we were talking about earlier, the effects of war and spy games has on a person, is you would kind of turn off your emotional side, you would get desensitized and hardened to that kind of stuff. So I mean, it makes sense to me. I kind of agree it's an interesting choice to choose him out of everyone to make a TV show about, but I think they can pull it off because the guy who created and wrote the show is one of the writers of Rogue One, and it was his idea to keep it going. I don't think, I'm assuming it's a good idea and something they put a lot of thought into if he's still involved and cares about it, 6 years later. So that makes me optimistic about the story they're going to take him on.
Yeah, I like agree with both of you. Like, obviously, it's an interesting choice, that's for sure. I do like how they portrayed him, just because, again, it goes back to that, like what you said, Sarah, at the very beginning about like the inner working of the rebellion. Like, not all, but not everybody in the rebellion are these sweet little angels that are always trying to do the right thing. And like one of the main characters is like, I grew up in this. This is the way it has to be. In order to win war, you have to do, bad things. And as so I liked it, but I do agree with you, Brian. Very interesting character to pick to tell the backstory of. But we'll see. We'll see. It'll be interesting. How about another bad for you, Sarah?
No, I don't think I have any more.
Okay. I have one. I guess just it was. I'm fine with it, but I didn't need to know how the Death Star plans got in the hand of the rebellion, and I think this is like a slippery slope, like because it's sort of the same thing with, like, to me, Solo, right? Like, how did Han Solo get his last name? Oh, it was just randomly given to him. How did he get the dice? Some things you just don't need to know. You just kind of like accept as is, like, okay, this is how it starts. Okay, they got the now it's not like it's a horrible idea, but it's just like it's not a question I really needed answered. if that makes sense. So that's a little nitpicky. These bads for me are nitpicky, and the ugly is as well. But I had to pick something, so that was just something as like I don't need every little thing answered.
I almost feel like it's more of a story on why the Death Star has that flaw so easily. To obviously it takes a little skill to get to it and to hit it precisely, but like it's a pretty easy thing to get down there and like do that, which it more speaks to, for me, like why that is in there and how it was actually planned to be like that. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's a fair point too. Like how did they overlook this big hole? And it's like, oh, it was put there secretly on purpose. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, but yeah, anyway. Any other bad guys?
I just had one small one. Sometimes in this, the pacing of it felt like it was kind of a little bit slower and then speeding up and then going back slower and then coming back down. I don't know. The pacing was a little weird in some points. But it was fine.
Correct. Well, and like again, it's such a good movie. We're nitpicking.
I know, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, maybe this wasn't the greatest. Yeah. Could have been better pacing. I would agree with that. Mm-hmm.
I did see they did some rewrites and reshoots, so maybe that's why is some of it might seem a little bit just off or disjointed just because they did that. But compared to other movies they rewrote and reshot, it's way smoother. So I'll take it.
Yeah, it's a better overall movie. Correct. Okay, you guys ready to go on to the ugly?
Yeah.
Thanks so much for listening to our review of this movie, doing the great, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let us know in the comments below what is your great, good, bad, and ugly, or if you have a problem with one of ours, or even if you agree with us. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out our podcast in one of the links below. Also, follow me on Instagram at NuttieBuddie_Entertainment. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will talk to you guys soon.